coming today, and I don't know how to start this, but to give you a little background on our forest here. And part of that is a little bit of the history, because that kind of sets the stage for what Patty and I bought in 1995. This area, this valley, was basically ponderosa pine, and it was well separated. It had almost no understory, and that was before people got involved. And the added part here is that the environment, the altitude, and the amount of rainwater is natural for ponderosa pine. It's a drought-tolerant tree, and that fits here because we get about 20 inches of rain at this location per year. And it's also a fire-resistant tree, and fire was a constant cycle in this area. You can tell that by going out and looking at the tree stumps, the old tree stumps that were remnants of the old forest, and you can see fire scars on almost all of the stumps. So by fire and constant fire, it kept the understory down. The trees got thinned. It was a beautiful utility of the ponderosa to live at a decent spacing so that they didn't get into crown fires, and they grew quite tall and quite large. So this whole valley was primed. It had good lumber and it had access. It had a road. So they clear cut it about 130 to 140 years ago. And as a result of that, it set the stage for what happened in this area. And this involves the Deer Valley folks over and this side of the road, as well as up the hill and probably a lot of other areas in this immediate vicinity. The clear cutting was followed by sheep, and the sheep were great vehicles for driving the seed that was on the ground from the prior trees into the ground. And we got a tremendous response by driving that seed, and a lot of growth with a lot of seedlings, and much higher density of a lot of trees being grown, a high density of trees being grown. When I first purchased the property, it was so choked with oak. I remember my realtor saying, "You really don't want to buy this property." But I had an image of it, and I could see what its potential was. And to be threatened with the loss of everything, the house, the property, the trees, with this Missionary Ridge was something that changed the direction of our management plan. And I think there's a lot of us that go through this management plan process that don't really understand the first plan. You get a professional forester that comes in, he does a good job of looking at the forest from a commercial perspective, but it may not be tailored to your needs, tailored to your wants, tailored to your image as to what you want your property to look like. When we became a portion of the Colorado agricultural program, the monetary portion of it, the profit portion of it, required me to take a look at how we might sell products off of this property. And being that we're a small property, it didn't lend itself to selling trees. The return on the trees is very, very small, and the effect on the aesthetics would be very, very large. So I participated in a number of workshops that dealt with value-added processes. And some of those are as simple as using small trees, skinning them, and treating them so that they can be used as a viable product as a fence post, or now in new cases, I'm making them into some things like landscape sections. We looked at drying wood and what it took to dry wood, and the benefits of drying wood with a solar, which fits into the environment picture with our program. And that was also a Colorado State Forest marketing and utilization program, that workshop that I attended. And I saw that way of marrying cutting wood on a small scale, either treating our small diameter, which we couldn't sell for anything but firewood, and firewood markets are terrible, or actually drying that product and being able to sell it at a decent cost or decent price to get profit without changing the aesthetics of the property.
Talk about that value-added product. Is furniture your main one? Well, that's a downstream product from the initial. The raw wood products that come off are the fence posts, the landscape timbers that are treated. The wood can be either sold as timber. We had a relationship with a timber frame company that was asking me to cut certain size sections and lengths. That's a two-year drying process for some of those larger sections, but we did that. We produce up to 2-inch in thickness boards through the solar kiln, and those can be sold for a number of applications. We have one person that buys them for making into signs, and he engraves the names of the house or the street number or whatever, and he seals them up. And he needs big, thick, wide boards, and you just don't get those in the marketplace, but I can make them fairly easy. So those are some of the applications that we have. But the furniture is the wood is actually sold to the furniture company, if you want to look at it, even though I'm the same entity. And we make tables and Spanish colonial style furniture, bed sets, dining room sets, living room furniture, such as sofa tables and end tables and things of that sort.
What advice would you have for other forest landowners who are involved in the Tree Farmer program?
Well, the Tree Farmer program has a lot of advice built into it. Just being a tree farmer, if you are a certified tree farm, the management program that's there is a well-structured program that provides a lot of guidance. I did not know where to start with this overgrown, choked forest stand until I had some management plan in place that gave me a step-by-step method of being able to address it in a way that I didn't just get overwhelmed. And I think it was at times a little depressing, because you'd work and the next year you'd see the oak brush come back up, and not knowing that was going to be the natural case, that can be pretty daunting. But the management program and being able to follow that program and get results, and the maintenance side of that program in order to keep those results, that's a pretty essential part of the Tree Farmer certification program, and that's a real positive force for attacking something in a large scale.
Not every private landowner in the forest in Colorado thins their trees and creates defensible space, does some of the things that the Forest Service recommends. What word of advice would you have for those folks?
Take a look around. Take a look at what's happened in some of these major fires. I think that anybody that is in Colorado today that isn't aware that these fires have had impact on houses that have been, in many cases, in good condition in terms of how they relate to their forest, but certainly to a point where they're undefensible in other places. The local fire departments are going to look at their safety issues of being able to fight a fire. If they can't fight a fire and have the ability to do it safely, they're not going to risk their employees. And I think the next foot to fall is, with all of the fires that we've had, the insurance companies are starting to take a look at what it is that limits their liability. And I think being part of a tree farming program is going to be a first step for them to understand that you are doing something in a defined way, with a external auditing part of the program, that you are performing against that defined program, that's going to affect rates down the line. So I can't imagine that anybody that lives in the state of Colorado in a forest area can put their head in the sand about that this couldn't happen to them, because it can, and it probably will.
It seems like a no-brainer that homeowners insurance rates would vary depending on the amount of thinning mitigation that you've done. Is that something you anticipate? Have you seen, or are you hopeful for?
Our insurance carrier has made visits to its membership in this area, and it's from they never called it an audit, but I think they were very much looking to see what their exposure was in terms of being able to fight a fire based upon your home location, the ability to get in and out of the property, the amount of work that was done in order to minimize the potential for your property to be involved in that fire. Because they're covering the structure, they're not covering the forest. But the same light, I I don't know if anybody that's formally made an announcement that they're going up in rates unless you perform to a certain standard. But I do think that's something in the future.
Anything else you want to add about wildfires in Colorado, health of the forests, sort of the bigger topic, I guess?
Well, you know, moving here, we had a vision of what we wanted out of this forest, and I saw a healthy forest with a grass understory. I've since come to understand that that's probably not possible with my area, and I'm growing to like the oak because I do see it as being a viable plant that fits in this ecosystem, and I don't hate it as much as I used to because it's easier to manage after I have brought it under control and it's just a maintenance item. But the living in the trees is, you know, I don't know. After a rainstorm, there's just nothing like walking out and smelling the pines and their appreciation of that water that they get. It's kind of like a shot of adrenaline and living out here, I just don't know how I could go back to living in an urban environment. I think this is it. This is going to be the place that I stay and live in, and I don't know what else to say about appreciation, but this is to get it to a point where it's safe enough for us to live without being too concerned about the fire issues is important, because that can make some wild sleepless nights, especially when you have a fire that's close.